white or black.
Yeah, that's right. So I was here on my phone trying to send back some of these interviews I've been doing, and I wasn't very successful at sending them back because the internet here is so slow, and so that was kind of what was on my mind, and suddenly I see the white smoke and nothing matters anymore, so it came as a surprise for me as well for that reason. Just what a moment. You can really feel it in the crowd here. Huge moment.
Well, amazing. And I mean, as you mentioned, there's still people running to the square, and there will be probably for a long time, Joe. I mean, because people will be flocking to see the new Pope coming.
Yeah, that's right. And all kinds of people here as well. I've been speaking to priests from all over. I spoke to a nun from Samoa, right, the island of Samoa. I spoke to a Buddhist monk, and that's one of the interviews that I wasn't able to send back to you guys.
Oh, wow.
I spoke to a Buddhist monk from Thailand who said he was in Rome by chance. He just happened to be in Rome visiting a friend, but he was in the square on purpose because he really wanted to be here. He said that although he's a Buddhist, that Pope Francis really meant a lot to him. And he said he was really hoping to see the successor. And so that was really nice. And he said he described it as a gesture of interreligious friendship. That's what he said to me. A gesture of interreligious friendship, solidarity. That's why he wanted to be here from Thailand, a Buddhist monk.
Beautiful. And our camera work here, we were just zooming in on that balcony from where the new Pope will appear. Joe, tell us about, when you're explaining to people in the square, what's next, what's going to happen? I'm sure people are asking you, so what happens? The Pope's new elected.
That's right, yeah. So I've been explaining to people exactly. So we know that right now the Pope he's got a few things to do before he appears on the loggia. So we'll have the Cardinal Proto-Deacon will come out, unless of course it's the Cardinal Proto-Deacon that's been elected. And he will give the Habemus Papam, the announcement in Latin. We'll hear said in Latin the name of whoever's been elected Pope, and people will be listening very carefully, trying to see if they can catch that name. And if they can't catch it, they'll see the Pope a moment afterwards, because the Proto-Deacon will leave the balcony, and the Pope will come out and he'll greet the people. He'll speak probably in Italian, he'll probably say a prayer and deliver his first address, and that's what everybody here now is waiting for, that moment when they see the new Pope for the first time.
And Joe, how about yourself? You're going to be there for us, aren't you? You're going to be staying there in the square.
Yeah, that's right. No, of course. I mean, CJ, there's nowhere else I would rather be in the world right now than right here in the square. So yeah, you couldn't move me from here if you tried. I'll be here.
Fantastic. And you'll be telling all your friends about this experience you're having here right now in the future, I'm sure.
Well, thanks so much, Joe.
Cheers, CJ.
Thank you, Joe. We're going to be back with you very soon for more update on all happening in the square there. So, Monsignor Vittillo, tell us a bit about this experience for you now. I mean, this experiencing it live, the smoke coming out here, and now our great sense of anticipation for who the next Pope will be.
Well, it's just such a privilege to be here in Rome at this time, but also I probably felt closest to Pope Francis because I've served him in different ways, both as in my work at Caritas Internationalis, and then also at the Secretary General of the International Catholic Migration Commission. I always used to say he's the best guru you could ever have to do public relations on migrants and refugees, and I don't have to pay him a thing, you know. So, and there were many times when I was able to meet him, and it was so beautiful an experience each time. So the emotions are more now than they were other times, because I loved the popes, but they were strange to me. I didn't know them so well. I met Pope John Paul II a couple times, but not as closely as working with Pope Francis. It's wonderful, it's exciting, and then it's a real privilege to be here at Vatican Radio and to have been part of our smoke watching together.
It's now smoke warning, of course. So, and a severe smoke warning.
Exactly.
Yes. White smoke, that makes it even more severe, so to speak. But it's severe good news, I like to joke and say.
Yes.
But,
I think it's going to be very nice. I'm very happy that I was here. And just when I was walking out the door, and I just thought, I don't want to be alone in this moment.
Yes. This
is a moment of ecclesia. This is the moment of people gathered together. I'm going to run back upstairs and knock on the door and see I'm so happy to be able to share this moment, and I love this view of the square and all of these people who are gathering together in really a tremendous sense of rejoicing. This is after our 9 days of mourning, after the shock of Pope Francis's death, we are rejoicing again. And that is very lovely for a beautiful, beautiful day in Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, stunning. Actually, perfect weather, and I like to jokingly call this kind of weather severe good weather. It's just wonderful. It's sunny and brilliant, and of course, I remember in 2013 when Pope Francis was elected. It was during the evening. It was dark out, and it was still
Cold.
Yes.
It
rather
was
cold and wet,
and rainy.
and the sun set later, but it was illuminated with the lighting in the square. And now they even improved lighting they have on the basilica now. It's stunning. You know, the square and the facade, how they've renewed and the lighting. But then it was illuminated by all the phones being held up and all. But here we have the brilliant sunlight illuminating all the people there in the square and growing in number. And now, Dr. Lev, tell us a bit about, I was thinking, the central loggia of the basilica there.
Mm-hmm.
And even the history behind it of the popes appearing from that loggia, from that balcony, and giving their most solemn blessing, Urbi et Orbi, which the new pope will impart after he greets the crowds there, that solemn blessing to the city, in Latin, to the city and the world. Which is
that's the first task. That's his first act, is to impart this blessing, because after all, he is the Pontifex Maximus. He is the bridge between heaven and earth. So today we'll see him in the facade of St. Peter's. And that facade, which was built, beautiful construction by Carlo Maderno from 1612, but even in some of the buildings in Rome you might not recognize actually have a loggia of benedictions. So there's a sort of strange side transept on St. John Lateran, because when the popes lived over there, that was where the pope would come out for the Orbi et Orbi blessing. Or even the church of San Marco in Piazza Venezia, where Pope Paul II lived, he also had a loggia of the benedictions placed into his house / church / because the popes weren't officially living in the Vatican. And then even, what it means to have the Pope on that balcony. If we were in the early 20th century, the first conclaves of the 20th century, there was no Pope on the balcony, because during the so-called Roman question, after the unification of Italy in 1870, during those conclaves, while the newly formed Italian state and the ousted papal state confined within the walls of the Vatican, their tensions between the two of them meant that they would hold the conclave, send out some smoke, but you had to wait. You would not see the Pope appear in the square. And so when Pius XI appeared in that loggia, it was already a statement that things were about to change. So it's a very, very, very exciting moment. I remember, I think it was 2005, all the cardinals, when they first started to have lots and lots of cardinals, they were all trying to fit out on those openings of the balcony, and you were kind of looking at a couple of them like, that looks a little precarious.
Yes.
So let's hope they've worked out the placement, the placement out on the balconies this time.
Absolutely. Here we're seeing a long shot there, and crowds coming down the main avenue, Via della Conciliazione. There are security checks, of course, which is one reason that the crowds may kind of trickle in more than be running into the square. Unfortunately, it's absolutely necessary nowadays. So,
sure, you could see them coming from the security now.
So there's a metal check and all, so we have to ensure the safety and security there in the square. So.
Well, and as we're seeing all this jubilation and excitement, sadly, we have to say goodbye to Liz.
I'm like those sports stars that keep quitting and then coming back. I mean, you'll probably see me back in like another 15 minutes.
Yeah, you are welcome to come back.
Or a bit like the seagull coming in and around the chimney.
I really liked the sports star comparison better, but I'll handle seagull.
Okay.
Thank you so much once again. I'm so happy we got to share this moment together.
Thank you for being here with
you.
us.
Well, and as Liz mentioned before, when we were talking about what is happening now, what takes so long, I mean, according to John Paul II, I believe his Apostolic Constitution, right, Universi Dominici Gregis, there's a process that's happening, and it starts with the rite of acceptance, which already happened, because that's when we know we get the white smoke, because the Pope, the man that was elected, had to say yes.
And has to sign and have it certified.
Exactly. So isn't that, I mean, it's beautiful, right? We always talk about free will in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
He could say no, but this means that whoever we will see on the loggia has agreed, has said yes to this. And as you can hear, the crowds are coming, and we see...
and we see the pontifical band there coming out, and the Swiss Guards, of course. There's always a traditional salute of the Vatican hymn or anthem to celebrate the occasion. It's part of the festivity of it, and we hear they're playing already and coming out there, all in full uniform.
Well, and it's special. It's special too because, you know, these last more than 2 weeks, we've had the Swiss Guards present for certain things, but now they have a Pope once again that they are protecting. That is their role, that is their mission, right? To be where the Pope is and to protect him. And so this is extra special because now we see them coming out again to the piazza because we will have a Pope.
Yes. You know, I live with 21 other priests at a residence, so all of us work in the Curia, and we've been sharing at breakfast how hard it is in the morning when we're celebrating Mass, and there's always a prayer in the canon of the Mass for the Pope. And, you know, we now have to skip over that, and it's like your tongue doesn't stop, you know. So now we can pray once again for the Pope as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, our predecessor popes can pray for us as well.
Exactly.
Intercede in ways.
Yes, that I'm sure of.
We hope and pray for
sure.
So again, the bands here will be coming in and playing the anthems, the hymns when the new Pope appears, just like the Urbi et Orbi on an Easter or Christmas or solemn occasions.
That's right.
And so it's to be expected at this time, and we probably have another, it's at least a half hour before the earliest the new Pope will appear from the central balcony.
But also during this time too, there will be prayer too, and certainly the new Pope will be praying, but also the cardinals will be praying with him too.
And we will all be praying as well. Everyone in the square will be praying.
Yes, exactly.
Around the world. All of you watching and listening from home, will you join in prayer as well for this moment?
We do indeed. You can be sure even the new Pope hears all this in the background because it's a lot of strong sound that's coming up there and then propagating up into the areas there in the buildings and just outside the loggia there as well. You can hear that. I know that from experience. You know,
right?
The sounds of the streets, the sounds of the square.
Well, and it must be a sign of. I mean, they must feel encouraged hearing the cheers, the music, because this is a big moment for anyone. And then to come out into the loggia and see thousands upon thousands of people. I mean, if public speaking is not your thing, that would be very intimidating. And so to hear the support of the band and the people clapping and cheering must be extra special for that person.
Absolutely, a huge encouragement as well. Apart from the weight of the office and accepting and realizing the challenge, the immense challenge that they'll be taking on and responsibility, but encouraged by what is the fanfare we're seeing and hearing in St. Peter's Square right now. And as I mentioned, the crowds are filtering in, going through their security check before that, but the square is slowly filling up there with people coming in last minute to be here. Of course, they're lucky they have a little time because we have about this almost 1 hour before the new Pope will appear. And so we see in the blue there the gendarmes, the Vatican gendarmes and the band they have there, and then of course the Swiss Guard in uniform there in position. So,
well, and just again behind the scenes, looking back behind all the process that's happening, I think is so interesting to think we're seeing the crowds waiting, cheering, trying to keep spirits up while they wait the hour or more until we know who the Pope is. And I think as we're talking about, prayer is also a central part of this aspect as well. I mean, before the Pope comes out, we see the first ceremony, the greeting, the Te Deum, where in the Sistine Chapel, after being dressed and saying yes, the Pope goes back to the Sistine Chapel and he takes a seat on a chair and a ceremony begins. And it's introduced with a greeting from the senior cardinal of the Order of Bishops, and then they read a passage from the Gospel, which, as we talked about with Liz and also Dr. O'Donnell, I mean, it grounds the mission of the Pope, the office of the Pope in the gospel, in the message that Christ gave to Peter, feed my sheep, tend to my sheep. So I don't know, it's a really special moment, I think, when you look behind what's happening right now as we wait for the Pope.
And speaking of the ground, please.
Just in the unbroken line of passing the authority and the responsibility of the papacy from Peter all the way on.
And now, going on the ground there in the square, we have Sister Nina Krankic, who's from Croatia and is with us there in the square. And she works here at Vatican News and is going to share us tell us more about her own experience there in the square. Sister Nina, can you hear us?
All of our listeners, to all who are following us online now. Pretty amazing. I just arrived here at the St. Peter's with my colleagues. We just rushed out of the building and we just arrived here. It's so many people already gathered here. There's the orchestra playing, as you probably can hear and see. The atmosphere is so getting warmed up and it's incredible. We're going to take our place somewhere here among the people, and we're going to wait for that special moment that is going to happen very soon.
Sister Nina, you must have run out of the building there to get there in the square, because I mentioned the crowds coming in now there's got to be some bottleneck there, isn't there?
Yes, we ran out of the building. All the colleagues started screaming, "Watch out, watch out!" There was a white smoke, so we just ran out and ran through the crowd, and we're going now. We're here in front of St. Peter's, actually, so we have a pretty good position. So if we talk a little bit later, I can tell you more about what's going on. But you actually cannot arrive at the square now because there's so many people from all around the all parts of the home gathering here. So it's really hard to even enter the square at this moment. There's so many journalists. Everybody's doing their best and interviewing people all around. So pretty amazing to see.
So it must feel like a big party almost, I imagine, in some ways, doesn't it?
Now the Italians
are the biggest party that I would ever add. That's for sure. That's for sure.
And we can hear the bands there. We see the Italian Carabinieri band that's coming into the square as well. So I imagine it's adding to the festive atmosphere you're living there, isn't it?
It's very festive atmosphere, and even the Swiss guards are all here, and the music, the people, very festive, very, very beautiful. Something beautiful to see.
All right, Sister Nina, thanks for giving us that update there, and we look forward to connecting with you there again when possible. We know how it's a little tough with the cell signal there, given all the people communicating live on their cell phones and the networks there being a bit saturated. But thank you.
Yeah,
and
I hope to talk to you soon, and you can still make it, people, if you're somewhere around, if you're somewhere close, you can still make it. So try to get on the square and don't miss this special moment.
Wonderful.
In time. And if you're watching in direct, don't stay with us and wait for that moment that's falling.
And Sister Nina, by the way, this is your first experience of this type, isn't it? Your first conclave, and
yes.
So it must be extra special for you.
Oh, amazing. You know what? But even seeing that live, it's something so special, and seeing that many people. As we were coming here from the dicastery, from our building, I've actually seen people cry and screaming Habemus, Papam, and which was so touching. People running and crying, and you feel that it's like a special moment in the history of the church and of the world. So it's something that it's just once in a lifetime. So I'm really grateful to be here now.
Wonderful. All righty, Sister Nina, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and we hope to touch base with you there shortly, okay?
Thank you for calling me.
All right, in the meantime, good luck getting in the square there.
Bye-bye. Thank you, bye-bye.
All right.
Well, and continuing, as we mentioned before, the atmosphere, but also what we're seeing. You see the bands, Father, as you mentioned, the Italians as well, coming up the stairs that we often saw the Pope Mobile drive up for general audiences, and shortly about what's going to be said. And for those who might not know, what is the formula? What is said?
Well, it says the proto-deacon, and it's Cardinal Momberti is the proto-deacon right now, will come out and say, I have an announcement of great joy, and then he says, we have a pope, Habemus Papam. I saw some signs there, and they didn't have the correct conjugation of papa, but that's okay. The fact is, the news is and it's almost universal language now in terms of communicating the fact that we now have a pope.
And then after that, he announces the name that
The
he's
name,
taken.
yes, in Latin.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you a funny story of that too. A friend of mine was in the square when Paul VI was elected. And he was standing. He's from the U.S. He was a student at the North American College, and no, it was when John Paul II was elected, and he was standing next to an Italian woman, and they announced that the Pope was from Polonia, and this Italian woman crossed herself and said, "Grazie a Dio da Bologna."
Da Bologna.
That guy from Bologna. She didn't hear Polonia in Italian meaning Poland.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tricky. If you don't know Italian or Latin, it might be a bit confusing. But no, it's extra special, and as you mentioned, I mean, I remember watching with some of my colleagues here at the start of this week some of the compilations from the Habemus Papams that we have video or audio of, which is only in the last, just over 100. Latin or not, you know that phrase and you know what it means, and so it's a big signal to a new chapter in the church.
That announcement, and it was so good. And he's gone home to heaven, but I'm sure he's now rejoicing once again tonight.
That's right. I remember him very well when he announced introduced Pope Francis, and I remember even hearing his name. I was wondering who, and then I looked it up very quickly because as always, it's a surprise.
Right.
It's a surprise,
and you don't know, because we have such a list of people, and as we've said throughout this entire Smoke Watch, that it's the Holy Spirit that guides the decision.
Fratelli d'Italia.
He must.
And we've just heard those, the Vatican hymn and then the Italian national anthem played, mutual salute between the two groups of bands. And now the mutual salute and greeting of both. This is just like when we see at Easter and
yes,
at
and
Christmas,
the Urbi et Orbi.
during the Urbi et Orbi, when the Pope, gives his blessing to the city and to the world, and before that his Christmas or Easter message. So the bands are lined up there as we await the curtains to be pulled back there from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica there.
And even though the Holy See is a separate country, it's important for Italy to be involved in this too, because he's also the Bishop of Rome. So it's his flock is in Rome as well.
Actually, just now taking off my headphones to hear some of the ambient sound, you could hear kind of the craziness that's going on outside. You could hear helicopters, ambulances, fire trucks, everything. And so, I mean, even at the end of Via Conciliazione, where we are, you can hear the excitement and the festivities that are happening outside.
Monsignor, I think some of that chimney smoke has gotten
gotten to me, yes.
There's a lot of pollen in the air,
yeah,
so it's
definitely,
allergy time here as we head into summer. But what a stunning view there. We have the sun just going down behind the facade of St. Peter's. It's always stunning, when it comes time to sunset there with the facade facing east, but then when you're looking at the basilica and the sun going down behind it, it's always
so beautiful.
So beautiful, yeah.
But everybody's eyes are on this.
Yeah, everybody's looking up, waiting for the doors to open and then the white curtains to be pulled back.
Well, and there's actually a story about what's happening right now. Again, the Room of Tears, the Pope, the new Pope getting dressed, and we know that there are 3 sizes of the white cassocks because you don't know who's going to be elected, but you have to be prepared. And actually, one of our colleagues, Christopher Wells, who was on this morning actually on the Smoke Watch, was talking about Pope John the 23rd, and he was...
That's a letter. Yes.
And actually, since it didn't fit, they had to tie it like a medical garment.
Exactly.
And so it's a funny little anecdote to just remember that. I mean, no one knows, and so everyone's prepared, but that's what's going on right now. They're trying on the garments, and they're seeing what's fitting.
And of course, they have different sizes available to start with,
Yes.
but sometimes
3
they might need
different,
adjusting depending.
Exactly. We're all made in God's image and likeness in different sizes. So there you go.
See all those flags representing the different nations present. Also, it is the Jubilee of Hope, and so we have pilgrims here for Jubilee events over these days as well. I think I read about 15,000 for currently in Rome just for the Jubilee themed events. For pilgrimages that were organized well ahead of time.
Well, and we're hearing from our producer, Francesco Merlo, that they're looking outside our building, and as I mentioned, there's helicopters, but they're blocking off the roads, and that's what Liz was mentioning too, that people are stopping, and they're just trying to get to the square as fast as they can. So it's a moment of organized chaos a bit in the square and around the Vatican.
We have reports that there are people literally running to get into the square. And they will eventually, as they go through the checks and controls there. They do an extraordinary job of the crowd control as well, with these many people coming into St. Peter's Square and avoiding any potential problems or issues due to that. So.
Well, and that is, you have to think that, I mean, maybe everything has a purpose, right? Everything has a reason, because we have this time in between the white smoke and the Habemus Papam, maybe also for everyone to get to the square. It's a dual-edged sword. The new Pope is being prepared and ready to go to the loggia, but it's also to let everyone who can get to the square to be there for that special moment.
And we're seeing it with our Vati drone footage here, as I'd like to call it. And you can see the square there. It's just wonderful. You can get a sense of the crowds, and then on the people kind of streaming in from the main avenue of Via della Conciliazione and some of the side streets there.
talking about the universality of the church, I just got a message from a UN official in Gaza, who's listening to this transmission, and so you could see how connected people are, and how grateful they are to be able to hear Vatican news as well.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we're grateful to have you here to say some nice, intelligent things for us.
I don't know.
As well as and give us some interesting input on all, and to share this experience. As we see the our drone footage there shows our Vati drone is showing the avenue there filling up with people, and as they come closer to the square, then they just go through a check there, and we'll.
And all the flags are ready.
And Thaddeus, because since this is your third conclave in Rome.
In Rome, yes.
And
so I haven't been a conclave elsewhere.
No, but you've been in Rome.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But have you ever had the opportunity, because I know working here, we're always pretty much in here, but have you ever had the chance to run out to the square or see the excitement?
For Pope Benedict, I was up there on the colonnade there. If you're looking here on the footage here, you can see here on the left side there on that colonnade there where the statues are, on top of the Charlemagne wing of the colonnade. I was up there and able to just view from that position where all the photographers, videographers were, or most of them anyway, accredited, to see him come out and greet the crowds and give his blessing. And I remember, this is a strange thing, but after that event, going back into the Vatican and running into Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio.
Oh my gosh!
This is long after probably about an hour after the blessing was given at the end of the. And I remember it distinctly because I knew the faces of all the cardinals, and so it was a.
Little did you know.
Little did I know. Little did I know. And then when there we see some of the cardinals there. There's Cardinal. I think that's Cardinal Wuerl, and we see, and then.
Cantalamessa,
and then.
O'Malley.
The cardinal non-electors.
Yeah, exactly. They're over 80,
and
so
there's
they're non-electors.
Sister Petrina, the head of the Governatorato now.
And that's Archbishop Fisichella as well, I think.
And we see the secretary of the dicastery for communication there, Monsignor Lucio Ruiz, as well. Anyway.
Well, and so, Thaddeus, was it? I mean, obviously, it's very different being inside here, but the excitement is still pretty much the same, being on the braccio, the colonnade, and being
very
here.
much so, because you're seeing things up close, and not only into the bells I was mentioning earlier that you hear very clearly and loudly, but then seeing from a unique angle, almost at below the level of the central loggia, but higher up from in the square. In 2013, then I remember I was down the street on the Conciliazione looking out the window at the crowds on Via della Conciliazione, and I could see the central loggia from which Pope Francis appeared then in 2013. So that was my other experience, per se, and a unique one at that. And now here in our studio here, right close to the action there.
Exactly.
It's a third privileged experience. And again, what's really... you really feel is the excitement of it, and the joy of having a new pope, but then also the expectation: who's it going to be?
Right.
And I remember with Pope Benedict, it was a bit the weather was a bit cloudy and cool then. I mean, this is the day of just brilliant sunshine, mild temps. Of course, we're in May, and so things warm up here quite a bit and pretty quickly.
When Pope Francis was elected, I was helping out at an English-speaking parish in Geneva, in addition to my other work. And the pastor had asked me to give a talk to the parents of the First Communion children. And we got the news just as I was ready to start the talk. So I knew tonight I'm not going to get anything else done of this.
Wow. So you've gotten the announcement in different places all around the world.
Yes.
No, that's amazing. And every time just a tad different. And
we have joining us Father Paul Samasumo, who's from Zambia, and he's head of the English Africa section here at Vatican News and the Dicastery for Communication. Father Samasumo, good to have you here. Many of our listeners who listen to the liturgies will recognize your voice as well as you do the commentaries for the papal events. How's this experience for you now?
Thanks, TJ. Actually, I've been here all day. And then I went outside to meet someone. And you won't believe, I got blocked. I could hardly come in. I've been trying to come back for the last 10 minutes.
Oh.
But fortunately, the security forces allowed me when I showed my badge. And people are just running into the square. It's amazing. It's my first conclave. I've never... I came in just after Pope Francis had been elected.
Wow.
So this is quite an experience for you.
It
then,
is an
too.
experience for me as well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Even just the moments leading up to this experience. I live in a house where some of the cardinals also were staying before they moved to Santa Marta. Of course, they had their own little tables, and sometimes we just provoke them. They had sought secrecy, of course, confidentiality, but it was so wonderful, and the dedication of them going to the congregations, the meetings, and even the non-electors, some of them live there permanently in our house. And we have some of the staff who have been helping. They had to also do the swearing in, so that they would be... some of them couldn't go because they have small children and they wanted to stay next to their children. So it has been a great experience, even from that point of view.
Well, and also, since you're from Zambia, how do you think people in Africa, the African continent, are taking this moment? I mean, we have viewers, listeners from all around the world, but your experience in watching the conclave and being prepared for this Habemus Papam moment, what do you think is the atmosphere, the environment of people watching in Africa?
It's a great moment. I can tell you already I've received about 5 or 6 calls just within the space of 10 minutes as I was coming in.
Wow.
From some of my colleagues who are in the media. And I think the most, the call that I really enjoyed was from my uncle. My uncle is 82, and usually we talk to him through my aunt because he has a problem of hearing. But he's so excited. So everybody's following. They're following on various channels there, the national television stations, on radio, and so forth. It's a great moment. And knowing Africa, they've always been fascinated by the popes. I remember even from a time when I was a young boy myself in catechism, we used to be taught the anthem, the papal anthem.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was very familiar for you to hear.
Not this one, but there's an old one that was translated in our languages.
Oh, wonderful. Translated in your language.
Yes, yeah.
And your language? Or languages?
Exactly.
And what are your languages, by the way? Just
Well, I'm from Zambia, and Zambia has 72 languages.
Oh my goodness.
Of which 8 or so are the main ones.
Okay.
That's widely spoken. English is the official language, so you can get by with that.
Fantastic. And I imagine people tune in even to our live streams, even if it's in Italian, Latin, or with your translation in English. I imagine it's a way to connect people. Tune in the same, even if they don't understand what's being said.
It is, and some directors of some of our Catholic radio stations. I'll give you an example. For in Kenya alone, there are about 11 Catholic radio stations.
Wow.
So they've been asking, what time is the smoke? Why are we having the smoke? Yeah.
Well, and it's really interesting now that we have you, Father Paul, in here, because as we heard from Father Bob, we had a message from Gaza, listening there, and then now you hearing messages from all over, and so it's the wide-reaching effect of this moment, and as the message or the theme that we've seen throughout our conversation has been universality, and how this is not just a moment for people here in Rome, and not just for Catholics, for people everywhere.
In fact, I'd like to thank people around the globe tuning into our live stream here. Maybe you're watching on a local or a national network, local Catholic radio, wherever you're listening. Thanks for joining us here. We're going to be providing you with all the information we can as we await this historic moment to find out who the new Pope is. And we'll know pretty soon. It's been about about a half hour or so since the
close
smoke.
to an hour.
An hour.
An hour? Okay.
It was around
The
6
time
o'clock
flies.
Rome
Okay,
time.
There you are.
It was 6:07 or something.
Something like
So
that.
any moment now there. And we see the crowds are coming in to the square, still streaming in, slowly but surely. On the sides there, you can see on the right side and then the left side after they've gone through the checks there. And then coming into the square, and they can all see things pretty well because there are these big television screens and good high-res ones too in the square and along the Conciliazione Avenue leading into the square. So many people, they can see just what we're seeing all together here, these same images and coverage. Sometimes there's some text message or some subtitling there and info for them, but they can get a good idea of what's happening even if they're not up close, thanks to the nice new technology we have out there.
Well, and I'm sure, as we all talked about before, and Father Paula, you would also, I'm sure, have experience with this, but using like the screens in the square, us doing this commentary, and you have to imagine that social media is blowing up with this moment, you know?
Oh, yes.
I mean, everyone that's in the square is live streaming, I'm sure, taking videos, taking pictures, and so the news is spreading even faster than it would have 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly. Even just here in Rome, you know, just the streets, the cafes. What I found interesting is, I'm sure you've seen the guys that sell trinkets and stuff.
Sure.
Some of them are from Senegal, or from Bangladesh, and so forth. And when the smoke came out, this guy asked me, "Do we have a pope?" And he said, "Do we have a pope?" I thought most of them are Muslims, but
Sure.
that kind of interest is really very touching. And I found very moving,
Right.
to be honest, yeah.
Absolutely.
I have another story on that. When Pope John Paul II died, I told you I was on my way to Gambia, and I had to go through Senegal. So in Dakar, there was this long line that I was waiting to go in through immigration, and the guard pulled me out and said, "You know, the Pope has died." I said, "Yes, I know." You know. So then he said, "You come up to the front," and then he brought me to the official, and he said, "You must have this father go through now because the Pope has died." And then he told me that he had a chapelet, a rosary from John Paul II because he was part of the police when John Paul II visited Dakar. Next morning, 5 o'clock, I'm back in the line because I have to then fly to Gambia. And again, he came, pulled me out of the line, got me through, is everything okay with you? You know, it was really amazing. But you see, again, what the Pope means to so many people. And he told me he was Muslim, but, you know, he was important religious leader.
Right, of course.
Again, I'm sure people around the world now are just tuning in, dropping in and out of this broadcast and other broadcasts to see what we're all waiting for with anticipation of who the new Pope is. And that should be very soon now. And we'll know, of course, not only from the video we have here, but then when the crowds let us know with their cheers and applause.
And it will be we'll all be trying to give you immediately the name of the cardinal, which has now become the Pope. And as I believe, TJ, you mentioned earlier, or no, Father Bob, you mentioned it will be in Latin. And so we'll all be brushing up on our Latin in between, you know, now and then, so that we will have the name correctly. And then we'll also get to hear the name that the new Pope chooses to be
I
his
think
new...
the name is always also interesting because it kind of gives this vision of what he wants to do with the papacy. Probably not what he wants to do, but what he, you know, what inspires him. And Father had an anecdote there. I also have one. And when Pope Francis chose the name Francis, one of the Jesuits in Zambia told me, we were so excited because we thought you were chosen Francis Xavier.
Yes. And actually, it was the next morning that Francis clarified that this was Francis of Assisi. So.
Yeah, it's true, because a lot of people were trying to guess and figure it out.
That's right. When he met with journalists, he explained the origin of the name that he took and why.
Well, and it's special, like you mentioned, Father Paul, right? So it usually drives an idea of what the focus might be for the pontificate, choosing this special name. And we had mentioned earlier, right, that the person, I think it was Liz that mentioned, the person becomes a new person in that sense. The Pope is a new man because he gets rid of the old name, takes on this new name, and he's no longer just cardinal whoever. He's the Pope of the Universal Church, the Pope that is the symbol of the Catholic Church around the world, not only because, you know, he's known as the Pope, but also because of his white cassock that is widely recognizable.
We're seeing these camera shots. You know, those big television screens, people know when they're on camera, and so they have their moment of fame.
They're
there are a few seconds of fame waving and greeting everyone there. So it's always kind of fun too. It brings a little involvement and participation for everyone.
And it's good that the authorities, I think they planned this very well. You have screens around the Vatican, so that reduces also the congestion. We have the new square which has just been redone for the Jubilee year here. So there's another screen there just outside this building. And people are just sitting out there. They are not rushing to go into the square so they can see. And maybe they even get a better shot from, a better view from the screen there. So there are a number of these large screens surrounding the area. And I think it was very good planning on that part.
Yeah, wonderful, in fact. And then even just the organization, I'm always impressed with the organization, crowd organization, how people are led into these areas to assure that they can get in. It might take a little time, but then also how everything has come off so well without a hitch.
Again, it was almost prophetic because so much of the reconfiguration of the square and Via della Conciliazione was done for the Jubilee, but it served very well for the funeral and now for the new Pope.
Yeah, the city has done all these
Yes.
works projects also to help traffic flow well through the area. And here we have,
Yes, so it's,
it looked like, let's see here, that was Cardinal Schönborn, was it?
yes, and then
also to
Cardinal, who was the head of the Christian Unity.
that's right,
Yes.
okay.
And you can hear the helicopters. You
Yes.
can hear them in the square now.
Yeah.
So it's getting louder and more apparent that there's people from all over, and everyone's getting images of the square.
And I think the security forces trying to
Yes.
keep the peace. And I noticed also they blocked some of the roads leading to so that people are running across the roads, you know.
Right.
So
You gotta keep them safe
you
too.
gotta keep them safe, right, Kelsey?
Well, and so one of our colleagues, Lisa Zangarini, she did a lot of research on why we have this tradition of changing the baptismal name of the cardinal.
Okay, yes, Gualtieri, that's right. For that we saw, was it Cardinal Casper, right? Christian Unity we saw
That's right.
in the
Casper,
square there.
yeah.
Casper, and then
I was going to say that it's been interesting also from the time the Holy Father Pope Francis died, how the liturgies have been moving and preparing the people.
Yes.
Even yesterday's Mass, just, the prayers, we implore you, give us a shepherd
Yes.
pleasing to you, one who will lead us by example and lead us to the gospel truth. This is in the collect and in the closing prayers.
Yes.
So this conclave liturgy is also very elaborate and very moving and preparing the people. So it's not just like this is just a successor to Francis. This is actually, a transformation. This is going to be Peter now, who is going to be taking office.
that's right. Cardinal Ray said that in his homily, didn't he?
He did.
He's been such
He
a
did.
gift during this time too, Cardinal Ray.
Cardinal Ray's incredible.
92 years old,
Yeah.
full of energy,
Yeah.
and beautiful homilies, really inspiring us and helping us live through this whole ordeal.
Very inspiring at 92 years.
Yes,
91,
92 years old,
92.
yes,
Amazing.
Yeah, inspiration indeed, and then his energy, and also animated as well, in
Absolutely,
delivering,
yes.
giving his homilies as well with passion. So I'm always impressed. But so here we are. All right, we got this
Yeah.
flag.
Someone
Laura
is just
coming
asking me
in.
on the phone, do we have the name yet? No.
Yes.
We will learn with all of you.
We're all in the dark like everyone else.
It must
Yeah,
be
so-
hard for those cardinals out there now because
right.
I'm sure they're not allowed to tell us.
Exactly.
But
That's true. Yeah,
Wow.
mom's the word.
Mom is the word. And we're just waiting for the appearance. Pope Watch is on high alert.
That's right. It could be turned into. It will be a warning soon.
It will be.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
All right. So even some quiet among the crowds now as
Yeah.
this anticipation is
Building.
sinking in and building.
It's
Because I think what they will do as soon as the square is full, they don't let any more people inside
Yeah.
to prevent a stampede.
that makes sense, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Again, like you were saying, the
Yeah.
safety.
Yes.
Safety is a big priority, even though
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
very exciting. And you see Even small children getting excited for this moment on our screen. So from
It's
the
kinda fun
youngest to the oldest.
Fun for them, fun for us. too,
Exactly.
you know?
It's as fun for all
us
ages.
adults. Indeed.
And even the Vatican flag.
Vatican, Italian
Mhm.
flag. And we're lucky the sun's gone down behind, it looks like behind the basilica now, so you won't have the sun blinding you as you look at the central balcony, the loggia there.
So a bit of anxiety yesterday, when the smoke wasn't coming. I said, what's happening? Why is
true.
it taking that long and so forth? But, you could understand, I think, as has been explained, there's so much to do.
Sure.
There was the juramento, there was the
homily of Cardinal Cantalamessa as well.
Cantalamessa,
You know,
then, and then there was also the Vespers as
Yeah.
well. So I think it was
Yeah.
understandable. But you could also understand also the anxiety and the joy and the excitement
Of course.
surrounding all this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then the first time going through the whole process of the voting process, whereas, by the time this morning came around, it was all, it wasn't anything new. They're going in there to vote.
Right.
And, before prayer, of course. And
I mean, a lot of these flags that we're seeing on the screen as we wait for the Pope, it reminds me a lot of World Youth Day. The same kind of excitement, the same kind of building. You see young people from all over. It's a really beautiful image, and I think is again just a sign of the youthfulness of the church. We talk a lot about the future of the church, which begins with this new Pope, but the young people that are also present at this moment to see the historic aspect of this. It's really beautiful.
And we see the internationality, the universality of the Catholic Church. It's a global reality, and we see that in the crowds there in the square.
And this we also saw during the funeral of Pope Francis. So many people.
Okay, there's movement. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, there is movement.
Here we go.
The white curtains there behind the glass door. Now the doors are being opened.
We see first.
Here we are.
Yes.
Coming
Cardinal
out.
Lamberti.
The Cardinal Proto-Deacon.
Cardinal Dominique Mamberti.
And he's
who will-
smiling.
He's smiling. He will give us the announcement. Here we are.
Suspense.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus Papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
So the Pope is Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who's taken the name of Leo XIV, Pope Leo XIV. Cardinal Prevost is an American, and he spent most of his ministry in Latin America, in Peru, and also in Paraguay. And he's an Augustinian father. He was the provincial in Latin America, and then became the Bishop of Chiclayo in Peru. And he then is also he became the Superior General of the Augustinian Fathers as well. He's now he's been the prefect of the dicastery for bishops.
We see the cardinal electors there appearing on the balcony there as well, with this joy and their smiles on their face.
A great joy indeed, and well, it wasn't one of those papabulas, so to say. What a great joy.
It's a wonderful joy. And he's from Chicago.
Yes.
Illinois.
Chicago.
Okay.
An American.
An American.
Yes.
And
An American. I think that's a historic moment.
For sure.
Truly, truly historic.
And you can see all the cardinals on the different
Yes,
balconies
on the
there.
different
For our radio listeners, you may not be able to see this, of course, but they're appearing on all the balconies to the left and right of the central balcony there. All of them clearly standing out with their red vestments and smiles, and
waiting to again for all of us to greet this new pope as well,
The new pope.
which now we know his name.
Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, Augustinian,
Amazing.
and has served as prefect of the dicastery for bishops. A native of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States.
Wow. And so, as we said before, you saw all the flags and everything out in the
Yes.
square, and now all the Americans are holding their flags.
Can
Indeed.
imagine, yeah.
It's a historic
and
moment.
The
Who would have
Peruvians,
imagined?
too, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Because he
It's-
spent
that's a-
most of his ministry in Peru.
Yeah, and that's a
Yes.
special thing, so he has a
This
connection with
missionary
multiple.
experience
Exactly.
and this
Yes.
Exactly.
the continuation of evangelization
Mhm.
mission of the church.
The priority, yeah. So you can see still the they're like little pockets of red where all the
Yes.
cardinals are standing on the
Yeah.
balconies.
And from our Vati drone footage, and seeing it from above there, it's a unique view, perched above in front of the facade and looking down at them as they're on the balconies there, awaiting now as the new pope, as we mentioned there, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, and Pope Leo
14.
the 14th.
Yes.
Pope Leo the
Pope Leo the
Yes.
14th.
The 14th.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, his Leo the 13th was the great social reforming pope
Mhm.
for
He
us.
was
so,
a great social reformer.
Yeah, and he died in 1903, so still fairly recent in the
Yes,
grand scheme
yes.
of
Was
things.
Pope Leo the one with Rerum Novarum?
Yes, exactly.
There you go,
And
good
then-
memory.
Yes.
From my seminary days.
And then his successors wrote other encyclicals every 40 years afterwards.
So he started like
on
a
the
trend.
social. Yes, and it's really one of the constitutions of Catholic social ministry and
And
Catholic
probably I
social
would say
doctrine.
a pope needed for our times with all the social challenges the world
Yes,
has
yes.
today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, relatively young, 69 years old, born on
Yes.
the 14th of September, 1955, as we mentioned, in Chicago, Illinois. And so 69.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Father Paul, as you were just saying, I agree. And maybe Father Bob, you can really stress this point because you work in
The
social work
dicastery
community.
for
Exactly.
Integral human
And so
development.
this
yes.
is an important aspect
Yes.
of the church.
Yes.
The
yes.
Catholic social, the
Yes.
Mhm.
Catholic social teaching, I
Yes.
think, is important,
Very.
and it's often called the untold story of the church,
Mhm.
Yes.
or perhaps the hidden secret of the church, and it has so much, and
Yes.
there's a lot of development.
And was one of the needs discussed by the cardinals during their congregations
Exactly.
this last week too. So.
Exactly.
Oh, there we
Ah,
see the
there's
the
American
American
flag.
flag.
There's
Flag.
the US flag there. People are thrilled about this.
Yeah, and
And
there's quite a number of American students.
Oh, yes.
Dr. O'Donnell was here, and he was going to be in the square with his American students. So you can imagine them
What a
Oh,
cheering.
treat.
yes.
It'll be a treat for them, indeed. Yes.
I can imagine the scene. The house I live behind is the Basilica of St. Augustine,
Mm.
where we have also the tomb of St. Monica.
Yes.
inside there.
Yes.
So it must be
Beautiful
a great day
church,
for all the Augustinians there.
Yes.
Yeah, very special day.
Yes.
Indeed, he, looking at his biography in going back to more recent history, at the same level almost of those balconies, and all the cardinals kind of crowded in those balconies.
And they look like they have the same anticipation that we
Right.
do.
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly.
Wow.
Any moment now, Pope Leo the 14th will be
Pope
appearing.
Leo the
Amazing.
14th.
Will be appearing from that balcony.
Pope
Well, and-
Leo the 14th.
Looking again at his predecessor, well, the person he took the name from before, Leo the 13th, he actually, Pope Leo the 13th had the third longest papacy, well, verified papacy that we know of, behind Peter, the apostle, and then John Paul II. So one from way back in church history and one from our very recent history.
Long
it-
live the Pope.
Exactly. No, and even on the screens now you can see a lot of people climbing up on the what are they? The lampposts in St. Peter's Square.
Anything to get a better view.
Yes, just trying to get a good view of the new Pope.
And there we have the cardinals. These are the cardinal electors, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. The ones that helped make this decision.
Yes.
Which, since we had 133 cardinal electors, then we had to have a majority of 89 cardinal electors to vote for cardinal.
I found intriguing the fact that the voting takes place in the Sistine Chapel, where you have the last judgment.
Right.
So whatever you do, whatever you decide, that's between you and the Lord.
Yes.
Because the weight of the responsibility is so great. So very fitting, very telling, eh?
Right. Well, and before you came in, Father Paul, Dr. Lislev was talking about the Pauline Chapel, and that's where the new Pope, now Pope Leo the 14th, when he will walk down this hallway in the chapel, and at the end of the chapel is an image of Peter crucified upside down, but the artist turned his head so that when the new Pope is walking down the hallway, Peter's eyes are following him.
Here we are.
There we are.
Pope Leo XIV is now
Pope Leo
appearing,
XIV.
coming to the central loggia of the Basilica.
Very special moment.
Very special moment.
And
here he is.
There he is,
And the applause going up, the greeting, the waving,
big
the
smiles. How amazing.
How amazing.
And Dr. Lislev was also talking about the symbolism of the red that he's wearing. You know, it is a sacrificial role, and that is the symbol of the cloth that he's wearing right now.
And we see this beautiful close-up view from the side there, at the same level as the loggia. Pope Leo XIV.
Pope Leo XIV.
Amazing. Smiling.
A smiling
and
Pope, yes.
you can see who wouldn't be taken by the moment. And
I think going
overcome
through
with
his
emotion.
mind, you know, the weight of
Yeah.
this responsibility.
Oh, yeah. You can see it on his face.
You can
Oh,
see it on his
absolutely.
face.
Amazing.
After this, you're never the same person.
No.
And we're hearing the bands below, the mutual salute of the anthems, the hymns, Vatican hymn and the Italian national anthem, as we do traditionally at the Easter and Christmas, as we've mentioned.
And after this, now Pope Leo XIV, he will give a greeting and impart his first apostolic blessing, the Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the whole world.
So that blessing extends to everyone who is watching, everyone who is listening, your family, wherever you are. It's a great moment to prepare ourselves for this first blessing.
This most solemn blessing, you can just feel and see the emotion on his face.
Yeah.
And the crowds there gathered in St. Peter's Square, still arriving, we're being told, from the avenues surrounding the Vatican there, the streets and the...
So just getting messages here. Congratulations. God bless the Pope. And you can hear the chanting from the square.
Long live the Pope. Viva il Papa. Viva il Papa.
Viva il Papa.
And we're all silent now, awaiting his first words.
La pace sia con tutti voi. Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano, a tutti i popoli, a tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.
We're just hearing the first words of Pope Leo XIV. As he continues, we'll provide a summary here in just a moment as we listen to his words. He's asked everyone to, brothers,
Questa è la pace di Cristo risorto.
this is the peace
Una
of the risen
pace
Christ,
disarmata e una pace disarmante,
a peace
umile
that is
e
disarming
perseverante.
and humble and persevering.
Proviene da Dio,
It comes from
Dio
God,
che ci ama a tutti
God who loves all of us
incondizionalmente.
without any limits and conditions.
Ancora conserviamo nei nostri orecchi
And
quella voce debole ma sempre
we still have
coraggiosa
the
di
sound in
Papa
our ears of that,
Francesco,
the weak
che
voice of Pope
benediva
Francis,
Roma.
who was blessing Rome here. We have that fresh in our minds, in our hearts, in our ears, hearing his
Il
voice,
Papa che benediva Roma,
the Pope who was
dava
blessing
la sua
Rome,
benedizione al mondo
giving his blessing
intero,
to the world
quella mattina del giorno di
on
Pasqua.
that morning, on that day of Easter Sunday.
Consentitemi di dar seguito a quella stessa benedizione.
Allow me to continue
Dio
that
ci vuole
same
bene.
blessing.
Dio vi ama tutti.
God loves
E il
everyone.
male non prevarrà.
Evil will not
Siamo
prevail.
tutti nelle mani di
We
Dio.
are all in the hands of God.
Pertanto, senza paura,
So without fear,
uniti,
united,
mano nella mano con Dio
hand in
e tra
hand,
di noi,
with God and among
andiamo
ourselves,
avanti.
we go forward.
Siamo discepoli di Cristo.
We are disciples of Christ.
Cristo ci precede.
Christ goes before us.
Il mondo ha bisogno della sua luce.
The world needs his light.
L'umanità necessita di Lui come
Humanity
il ponte
needs
per
him.
essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore.
But as the bridge between God and his love,
Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli altri, a costruire i ponti
may we all
con il
build
dialogo, con
bridges
l'incontro,
with dialogue and
unendoci
encounter,
tutti per essere un solo
so that we
popolo,
can all be
sempre in pace.
one people, all in peace.
Grazie a Papa Francesco.
Thank you, Pope Francis, for all you've done. We're hearing the first words here of Pope Leo XIV, just elected Pope.
Voglio ringraziare anche tutti i confratelli cardinali
I'd like to also
che
thank my
hanno
brother cardinals
scelto me
who chose
per essere
me to
successore di
be
Pietro
the successor
e
of Peter
camminare insieme a voi
and to
come Chiesa
walk
unita,
along with you,
cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia,
searching all together
cercando
for peace and
sempre
justice,
lavorare come uomini
and
e
working
donne
together,
fedeli a Gesù Cristo,
men and women faithful
senza
to Christ,
paura,
without
per
fear,
proclamare
to
il
pro-
Vangelo,
to proclaim the
per
gospel,
essere missionari.
to be missionaries. Pope Leo offering these initial words, which we're just translating on the fly here.
Un figlio di Sant'Agostino,
I'm a son of Saint
Agostiniano.
Augustine, and I'm an Augustinian
che ha detto: con voi sono cristiano
who
e
said,
per voi vescovo.
with
In
you I am a
questo
Christian,
senso
and for you
possiamo
I am a bishop.
tutti camminare
So
insieme
may we all
verso quella
walk
patria
together towards that,
la quale Dio ci ha preparato.
to the place that God has prepared for us. May we walk
Alla
together, accompany each
Chiesa
other. To the Church
Di Roma,
of Rome,
un saluto speciale.
a special greeting. As Bishop of Rome, of course, a special greeting.
Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una
We've gotta
chiesa missionaria.
Look at how we can together be
Una
a missionary
chiesa che
church,
costruisce i ponti
a church
di
that builds
dialogo,
bridges,
sempre aperta a ricevere
that is always open to receive everyone, just like in this square, to receive everyone, to welcome everyone, our charity, our dialogue and love.
And
now, a greeting in Spanish. Please allow me here to.
Todos aquellos, y en modo particular a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú.
So to all of you, but especially to the people of my diocese of Chiclayo in Peru,
donde un pueblo fiel ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para seguir
where we had such faithful people accompanying the bishop, and we had such faithful people helping the bishop.
Di Roma, di Italia, di tutto il mondo.
To all of you, the people of Rome and of Italy,
una chiesa che cammina, una chiesa che
we need
cerca
to be a synodal church, a church that's a pilgrim, that shows charity always, and especially is charitable to those who are suffering.
Oggi,
today,
il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei.
Today is the day of praying to the
Nostra
Madonna
Madre
of
Maria
Pompeii.
vuole sempre camminare con noi, stare vicino.
Our Blessed Mother Mary always
aiutarci con
wants
la
to be
sua
close to
intercessione e il
us.
suo amore.
She always
Allora
wants
vorrei
to
pregare
intercede for
insieme a
us
voi.
through her love.
Preghiamo insieme
So
per questa nuova missione,
let us pray
però
together
per
for this
tutta
new
la
mission,
Chiesa, per
for
la pace
all of the
nel
church,
mondo.
for peace in the
Chiediamo
world,
questa grazia speciale.
that she will
Maria,
help us give
nostra
us
Madre.
a special grace, our Mother.
Ave Maria, piena di grazia,
Hail Mary,
il
full of
Signore è con
grace,
te.
the Lord is with
Tu
you.
sei benedetta fra le donne,
You are blessed
e
among women,
benedetto è il frutto del tuo
and blessed
seno,
is the fruit
Gesù.
of your womb, Jesus.
Santa Maria,
Holy
Madre
Mary,
di Dio,
Mother of God,
prega per noi peccatori,
pray for us sinners,
adesso e nell'ora della
now and at the
nostra
end hour of our
morte.
death.
Amen.
Amen.
Pope Leo XIV there.
Pope Leo XIV, very interesting. A few themes coming out already there from his first piece, talking about peace.
Indeed, saying a greeting of peace. May my greeting of peace enter into your hearts and reach your families. All people, wherever you are, all peoples of the entire planet.
Right.
May peace be with you. God's
Okay.
peace be with you, he said. And here we see him in his, after having given that opening and beautiful words.
Continuing
to all.
also the message of Pope Francis, where he even said in Spanish and Italian, tutti,
Il
tutti, tutti,
Santo
todos.
Padre Leone, a tutti i fedeli presenti
And so
And
Pope
the
e
Holy
a
Father
quelli
Pope
che
Leo, and
ricevono la
to
sua
all people
benedizione
in
a
in
mezzo
the
della
square and
radio,
all
della
receiving
televisione e
or
delle
hearing
altre
this
tecnologie di
through new technology,
comunicazione,
online, everywhere.
concede l'indulgenza plenaria
Offers his
della forma
the
stabilita dalla
plenary
Chiesa.
indulgence in the formula established by the
Preghiamo
Church.
Dio
We pray
Onnipotente
to Almighty God
perché conservi a lungo
that-
il Papa
that
a
he may
guida della
keep the
Chiesa
Pope
e conceda
and
pace e
protect
unità
him
alla Chiesa in
and guide the
tutto il
Church
mondo.
and the entire world. Now he'll give this most solemn blessing to the entire world, to all of you joining us.
to everyone.
So we now prepare ourselves to receive this solemn blessing wherever we are, at home, in your car, at work, wherever you are.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus, de quorum potestate et auctoritate confidimus,
So
ipsi intercedant pro nobis ad Dominum.
the holy apostles
Amen.
Peter and Paul,
Precibus et meritis Beate Mariae semper Virginis,
and we
Beati
also
Michaelis
pray to the
Arcangeli,
Blessed Mary,
Beati Ioannis Baptiste, et
To
Sanctorum Apostolorum
Saint
Petri et Pauli et omnium Sanctorum, misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam, absolutionem et remissionem omnium peccatorum vestrorum, spatium vere et fructuose penitentiae, cor semper penitens, et emendationem vitae, gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Amen. Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et maniat semper.
And we just heard the blessing there, received the blessing there of Pope Leo XIV, and to the world, to the city, this most solemn blessing to all of us and all of you listening and watching out there.
What is interesting, he is smiling, and I found very touching the fact that he made reference to his former diocese in Peru and spoke to them in Spanish. Very, very touching moment, and how they are thanking them for how they accompanied him. And so from this moment, I think we all accompany the new Holy Father with our prayers and support.
And once again, he asked, just like Pope Francis did before, he asked for continued prayers. You know, this is a heavy task, as we all noted before, and he continues to ask all of us for prayers and also for the intercession of Our Lady on the special feast day.
And he asked us especially to be bridge builders, as he is, Pontifex, a bridge builder as well, but that we should all be building bridges, both here in the Diocese of Rome, in Italy, and throughout the world. And that we should build that on fraternity and on solidarity and on dialogue. So many times Pope Francis told us the same. There have been false debates, I think, in leading up to this about unity and diversity and things, but he's made it clear that he's looking for us to be united, but also to be the bridge builders and to bring about peace in the world through our bridge building.
We're seeing this stunning footage, or this video of our Vati drone there going close to the balcony and seeing, I think for the first time, unique images like this up close of the new Pope.
And there's about 100,000 people we're getting in this square right now who are seeing Pope Leo XIV for the first time.
There's Sister Norma Pimentel from the border of Texas and Mexico that Pope Francis, she spoke to him when he was there.
That's amazing, all the people who are appearing in the square now and the connections they had present and past. Again, quite a novelty, an American Pope.
Right.
And here he is waving, and again, once again, you can see the emotion and sense of responsibility,
the weight of the office.
Well, and this is a beautiful view, seeing from inside the loggia, looking out, what he would see as he waves to the crowds.
It's a very interesting place there, TJ. I don't know if you remember, we used to do the commentaries from that place.
Indeed, commentary positions behind, off to the side of that big hall of blessings, and after those blessings, we would greet the Pope as well, briefly afterward, on Easter or at Christmas. And well, that's our historic moment. The warning is over. We have a new Pope.
We have a new Pope.
And Monsignor Vittorio, you were telling us here about, you were translating the prayer.
Yes.
This is the prayer that is read, the blessing, I'm sorry.
The Urbi et Orbi.
The Urbi et Orbi.
Do you want to
read
why not?
Now? Sure.
So, may the holy apostles Peter and Paul, in whose power and authority we trust, intercede before the Lord. Through the prayers and merits of Blessed Mary, ever Virgin, St. Michael the Archangel, St. John the Baptist, the holy apostles Peter and Paul, all the saints, may Almighty God have mercy on you and forgive you all your sins, and may Jesus Christ bring you to everlasting life. And then he speaks about the indulgence and the absolution and remission of sins, and then he also gives the blessing. I'm not entitled to give the Urbi et Orbi blessing, but we heard it from him.
But again, it's the most solemn blessing that he gives and imparts, and again, in his words, he offered greetings of peace to everyone everywhere, and stressed that he wishes to be a builder of peace in his ministry, and to that we can all be part of that in our own efforts and in what we do.
And 2 or 3 times mentioning the word missionary, I think probably also echoing his own experience as a missionary, a bishop, and now a pope. I found also that very touching, this openness to the world. And he's someone who is coming from the outside. He has been in the Korea, and now, so he has both worlds. And this is very interesting and quite assuring, I think, for the church.
Well, and he comes from the Americas, so while he is an American by birth, being born in Chicago, he has connections to Peru, and so I think it's a beautiful continuity, between the two, the Americas right there. And as we see on the Vati drone, we're getting a good image of the apostles lined up on St. Peter's, the facade there, and you still see the massive crowds that have gathered, over at least 100,000 people, both in the piazza right there, and beyond, past Via Conciliazione and our office even.
Indeed. And then, again, that embrace of the 2 colonnades is just unique. It has a warm feeling to it of, welcoming and embracing those present there in the crowds. Now, we're going to try and go back down on to the square there to our own Joseph Tulloch in the
roving
square.
Journalist.
Our roving reporter. We're trying to connect with him. Again, it happens that the cell coverage there gets pretty saturated, even if it's pretty extensive. So we're waiting to link up with him to get some, direct feedback from him.
But while we wait for that, as you were just mentioning, TJ, about the arms of the colonnade, and that ties in perfectly with what Pope Leo XIV was talking about also in his Urbi et Orbi, the blessing and the greeting, where he speaks about we need to be welcoming to all people, tutti, 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 todos, todos, todos. And so it continues. I mean, you get that welcoming embrace from the square, but then also from our new Pope, which is a continuity also from the late Pope Francis, who initiated that, with his famous line, todos, todos, todos.
Exactly. Everyone is welcome.
It was interesting that he said, for you, I'm a bishop. With you, I'm a Christian.
Yes. That was really beautiful.
A quotation from St. Augustine, I think, yeah?
Well, and it's true. It's a nice, it's a good way to identify himself, that we're all Christians, but he's also a shepherd when he was a bishop, but then now as the Bishop of Rome and the head of the Catholic Church.
Again, embracing everyone, inviting everyone, basically underscoring the unity that brings us together, both Christians, non-Christians, everyone.
And it means, TJ, we are going to see that unity you're talking about in the synodality, because he did refer to synodality as well.
He did. And that word meaning talking to, hearing everyone's opinion and dialoguing together, listening to one another. That's what, in sense, the basics of synodality in terms of listening to one another and seeing where we can talk about things and come to understand one another and where we're coming from and maybe the best way to go forward together. And we're going to be on, just to let you all know, we're going to be on the air here for a little while longer, at least another probably about an hour here, to provide more updates on what's happening and trying and to connect to St. Peter's Square there with our own Joseph Tulloch. We're trying to get through there, and once we get through, we're going to chat with them and get some a sense of what it's like out there. I mean, the crowds are still there, although the square is slowly starting to empty now. And we're seeing the bands there that just performed earlier leaving. And again, an incredible moment. It's amazing to have a pope from North America, from the United States, and but one who's also lived and worked internationally, as we mentioned, Peru, and then here at the Vatican. In fact, his Italian is very fluent. We're going to take a little break here, little musical interval, and we're going to come back.
We'll be right back.
Just shortly here. So stay tuned.